What is going on, Diablo 2 fans? Brunski here. In today's video, we're going to be diving into the December 2021 quarterly update for Diablo 4. So a lot of really cool topics are touched on in this blog post, including some itemization, some graphics updates, as well as a discussion of a Paragon system. So I know a lot of you guys are going to kind of like shiver at that word Paragon, but I do think there's a lot of potential. But again, I'm just going to give you my honest thoughts and opinions. I'm going to quickly summarize this blog post. So I do hope you guys enjoy this video. Again, a quick reminder before we jump in, just want to let you guys know that if you do enjoy my YouTube content, I do stream twice a week on Twitch, so any follows on that platform would be very much appreciated. That being said, guys, let's jump in. So the first couple of things that caught my attention right away in this blog post is the top banner here, which looks like it is a refined version of a new skill tree for Diablo 4. So right here, I'm just speculating that this is a druid skill tree based on this little hurricane icon here. But I think it was over a year ago, we had a previous Diablo 4 quarterly update that actually showed a skill tree. A tree with skills inside of it, like it was literally a skill tree, and a lot of the common feedback that creators had about it was that they didn't think it had enough choice and depth. Now, this is obviously just like a little subtle hint at what they're doing. They're not actually diving into the skill tree in this blog, but it does look like they've potentially added a couple more options, so I do think that's really cool. And the second thing is that they're currently working on an internal game test version of Diablo 4. So a lot of people like to joke like, oh, Diablo 4 is like literally 5 years out. We're not going to get it anytime soon. The fact that they're testing an internal play model makes me hopeful that maybe late, like Q3 next year, we can maybe test the beta. I don't know, it'll be pretty exciting. Anyways, that's me being pretty hopeful, but that's definitely the very first couple of things that just caught my attention right off the bat. So the next big subsection of this blog post is itemization, with the first topic being plus skill rank affixes. So essentially an item can carry plus skill bonuses. So this is nothing new. It's a reintroduction of something that is in Diablo 2. So the same way you can roll +3 to Tornado on a magic druid pelt, they're introducing this, and they have an example item here. This is a magic axe that has +4 ranks to flay. So whether or not an item has plus skills, I don't really care too much if they do or don't. The only concern that I do have is just looking at this item, and again, I know it's not final, it's pre-alpha, they're just discussing and showing an example, but it's a level 44 requirement axe, which I'm assuming that maybe the game's going to cap out at 99, but it does 2,646 damage per second. For a magic item, I just have concerns if that's being multiplied by other gear pieces and plus skills, that we're going to fall down that trap of insane damage numbers. Like, I don't want 4, 5, 600,000. Again, that might be me freaking out and having just a gut reaction seeing 2,646 damage per second, because some of the best physical items in Diablo 2 are like up to like 500 or 600 or up to 1,000 damage. So that's the only concern that I have, just seeing as you're comparing the very best possible items in Diablo 2 with that extent of damage to a level 44 magic axe. So the next big subsection of itemization in this blog post revolves around legendary items. Now, they discuss a system where you can actually pull off a particular legendary affix off of an item by visiting an in-game character called the Occultist. I'm a big fan of this because it's not restricting or forcing you in how you choose to play the game. So let's say you find a particular item base that has a legendary affix that you would like to use in your character, but you don't want to use that particular base. You're not forced to either build a character around a different item or trade that item. You can visit the Occultist, pull off that legendary affix, and then either trade it as an essence or imbue it onto a particular item that may work better with your character. So I just really like this, and the fact that it's not restrictive. It doesn't force you in how you choose to play the game. But again, the only kind of reoccurring concern that I have here is looking at this legendary axe. It has really high damage numbers, and then the actual legendary stat is Fury deals 4% more damage for every second you haven't used Fury, up to 24%. So say you multiply that damage base number by 24%, and you have other multipliers in your skill tree and rest of your gear. I'm just worried about the overall total damage numbers, which I literally just talked about looking at that magic axe. So it's the only concern that I have, but the actual ability to shift legendary affixes around in essences is very interesting. They did also mention the ability to target specific monster types for certain items. So personally, I'm a big fan of this because I love farming particular areas in Diablo 2, like whether you're targeting Ghosts in the Arcane Sanctuary for high runes, or you're farming Travangle for golden high runes, or maybe you're targeting Bale runs for experience. Again, what they're mentioning here is just around specific items, but farming different groups of monsters, they're more likely to drop certain items. So you can target where you're magic finding Again, very small, but sort of just adds to that overall flavor of itemization and trying to gear up your character. So the next big section here we have is what is going to be a very controversial topic, or at least a lot of hardcore Diablo 2 fans that aren't a huge fan of Diablo 3, and that is the Paragon board system that they are proposing in Diablo 4. So again, nothing that we're discussing here is final, but the only glaring red concern I have with this system is it's unlocked when you're level 50. I'm just worried about whether or not it's an infinite or a finite system. So a lot of the stuff that they're discussing, which I will cover shortly, about the different tiles like magic, rare, legendary tiles, the ability to insert different glyphs within the Paragon board to make your character stronger, I think is all great. I just really hope that you can only maybe access like 5 of these boards, and then how you interact with them, and then what roles you have or what different particular tile you're going to will influence your character strength. But I hope you don't just infinitely grind these over and over again to make your character stronger and stronger. So that's the only glaring concern that I have with, again, they mention it a little bit later in the blog post, but they're looking for 3 pillars of power. So how you choose to invest your character skills, your gear, and then the Paragon board system. So that's not horrible having 3 pillars, because I really do truly believe that Diablo 2 is very largely gear dependent, more so than how you choose to invest your skills. Because if you have decent gear, you can make the majority of elemental damage dealing builds work. If you have no gear, you can't do anything. Now, I know someone's going to comment below about a Summon Mancer or Fishy Mancer in Diablo 2 being able to work naked. That's true, but overall, I think that it's an interesting system. And again, the only concern that I have is whether or not it's an infinite or finite power development for your particular character. So taking a little bit of a deeper dive into the specific tiles and glyphs and sockets for the Paragon board, they're just demonstrating here the difference as you progress through the different tiers. So common, example here is +5 to strength. That's the gain you would get from completing that section of the Paragon board. Moving to magic, 10% fire resistance. This rare one is fury skill, willpower, increased maximum fury, strength, etc. With the legendary tile being the best, while your fury is above 50%, you deal 30% more damage. Again, I think this is a really cool concept if there's only a certain number of tiles you can hit on a Paragon board. So it's a limited number of choices, and then you need to choose how you influence the power and development of your character. If it's just infinite, not a big fan of that. Don't think it's going to go very well. And then down here in the bottom, they discuss glyphs and sockets. So kind of the same way you socket a rune into a chestplate in Diablo 2, there is these socketable areas in a Paragon board, which you can put these glyphs in to make your attributes you gain from completing the Paragon board better for more power for your character. And they do talk about how you can actually level up these glyphs from doing dungeon content. So again, reiterating the point that I have, if it's a finite system where you can only do so many, kind of making that gear chase, like, so you've completed where you want to go on the Paragon board, and then maybe you get a couple really cool glyphs that will make your character stronger. You go back, you do a bunch of dungeon content to try and level those up. But again, you only have a limited number of sockets to make your character stronger. That's the only concern that I have, but I do really like the idea of like going elsewhere, dungeon content, leveling up glyphs that you can then put into the endgame system of the Paragon board, and they continue that way. I really, honestly pretty big fan of it. It's better than just doing a billion chaos and bail runs over and over again. But again, if it's the pursuit of the gear chase and trying to level up your character with better gear, with only kind of a finite number of Paragon boards you can do, I'm on board with it. So moving on to the VFX section of this blog post, they talk about the philosophy of the game mechanics and how they want to balance between the game looking visually very good, but being able to tell actually what's happening on the screen. So cues for avoiding monster attacks, whether or not you see an item drop, and then casting your skills, if it's a small area of effect or big targeted skill. They're trying to balance it so that you can just visually see what's going on, depending on the area. If you're in a dark kind of cave versus a desert environment that has more light, just trying to balance everything perfectly. And from what I've seen, it really does look pretty good. I don't think anyone can complain that Diablo 4 doesn't visually look great. And finally, wrapping everything up for the VFX section, they do spend a lot of time talking about dynamic player skills as well as character-driven deaths. So in terms of dynamic skills, it's essentially referring to the ability to change how a skill functions. So you still have the same kind of base attack, but with different skills and plus gear, you can either amp up the radius, or the intensity, or the damage of that skill. So an example of a static skill is something like Diablo 2. Blizzard, no matter how many points or gear you invest into it, never changes its animation, but they want to introduce dynamic skills, so whether or not it's increasing the radius, or again the duration, or the total overall intensity or damage of that skill, that is all covered in what we've been shown, and honestly I think it looks amazing. And again, referring to character skill deaths, they're talking about how if you attack with cold damage, you're going to shatter that monster, you can either burn it or eviscerate it. Blood from slashing arms and limbs. Depending on how you attack, it will determine a different character death on the monster. So again, making another Diablo 2 reference, there's really only kind of two, I guess. Poison or shattering a monster. There's not really more than that, but they plan on really diversifying that. So they talk about a lot of different possible combinations of killing monsters. And again, it all honestly looks visually fantastic. That is not my concern when it comes to Diablo 4. It really just boils down to the progression, itemization, and the endgame content, which a lot of the stuff that I've seen in this blog post, I'm pretty excited for. But again, guys, that's all I really have. Just a quick wrap up. Some really exciting stuff. New content coming for Diablo 2 Resurrected, as well as big progressions in Diablo 4. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Again, please let me know in the comment section below if you guys see anything that you kind of glaringly disagree with me or you don't like from this blog post. More feedback below is great for improving the game. And as always, if you guys could throw a like on this video, share it, even consider subscribing if you're new to my channel. I post new weekly content on YouTube, and I do stream twice a week on Twitch. Any follows on Twitch or subs on YouTube would be amazing. Other than that, guys, hope you have a great day, and I'll catch you on my next video or live stream. Peace out.